Yo, 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 what is up? It is Tuesday night, and this is Intentional Grounding right here on the Sports Social Podcast Network, among other places. It's where you can find us. I don't know
You
if
got to
you know
stop
this,
saying
Rob.
Tuesday night dog.
You know what?
Because really, it's like Wednesday morning over
For
in
them.
the UK.
Okay, that's
You know
fair.
what I mean?
That's fair. For those of you in the backyard, it's Tuesday night. For those of you that are my friends over the pond, it's Wednesday. So happy hump day to you all. But this is Intentional Grounding, and we are excited to be here. It is Buffalo Bills week opener, week 1. We are about to be in the thick of it, my man. Are you excited?
No, I am not.
Hold on,
know.
hold on.
I'm
Is that
shocked
real?
too.
Is
I'm
that
shocked.
real?
Yeah, like I'm shocked too. But I am not excited. I am filled with an overwhelming sense of dread.
Man.
Yeah.
I had different expectations when I came in here tonight for this show. And you mean to tell me that you're not excited about week 1? That's what you're telling me right now.
Yeah, I knew you were going to be like this, and I knew you were going to feel that way about me feeling this way.
So what you're trying to say is I'm trying to tell you how to feel? Is what you're trying to say?
No. I foresaw your take on my feelings. And listen, I know a lot of people are super hyped right now. And it's the beginning of the football season, and there is excitement abound, and no doubt about it. I don't know why it's got me feeling weird. It really does. And
Okay.
the news that came out today didn't help make me feel any better about it. News. The depth chart that came out today didn't help make me feel any better about it. And I don't know, man. There's just this deadly sense about it. I mean, there is.
Okay.
The vibes are bad for me right now.
Let's unpack this then. Is this I don't feel good about this, like bad shit is gonna happen, or I don't feel good about this because I don't know where to place my expectations, or both?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably a little bit of both, if we're being honest.
Huh.
And here's the thing. So many times I have underestimated Josh Allen.
Okay.
Even as now 7 years into his career, one of his biggest fans.
Mm-hmm.
But I've underestimated him, time and time again.
Okay.
I am going to say this, and I'm sure some mafia will give me a hard time for it, but it's absolutely true. And I can get you the numbers to back it up if you need me to, right? But I think most Bills fans, if they're being honest with themselves, know that this is true about Josh Allen. Whenever he takes a step up in stage, whenever he takes on a little bit extra spotlight, whenever he steps up in competition, whenever any of those things happen, he needs some time to adjust. He does. And that's okay. Not everybody just walks in and is Patrick Mahomes. His first playoff game, he was sugar high Josh Allen. He's pitching the ball to Dawson Knox after he already picked up a first down. He's just trying to do too much. And it's because he wants to win so bad. There ain't no question in my mind. I love the boy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He just wants to win. He wants to be the reason that his team wins. He wants to lead. It's all wholesome and good. Like I'm not dogging him for it. But that Houston playoff game, he was sugar high Josh Allen is how some of the media has described it. I think that's a Kyle Brandt term.
Kyle Brandt, yeah, coined that term.
And if you go back before that, the first time he played the Patriots, that was the 3 interceptions Dable laying into him on the sideline game.
Sure.
Right? Because it was his first time against Tom Brady. And his first game against the Vikings that he started, he's jumping over fools, right? Which it worked out that day, but it was a little bit of sugar high Josh Allen. And if you move that forward, first time he made it to the AFC Championship game, it was just too much for him. And So now you're in a situation where there's nobody else on offense. I mean, inside that locker room, Snowman can take some heat off of him because he is a vet and he has been around and he is playing a high price position and he's got seniority.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the locker room, Deion Dawkins can eat some of that up. But
oh man,
the world ain't looking at Deion Dawkins.
so is your reservation Josh Allen and his ability to lead or corral this offense?
No, my reservation, and I love him so much, but my reservation is more on the Brandon Beane side. We got into this a little bit last week when we talked about have they done enough at wide receiver?
All right, so let's park it here. Let's park it, shall we?
You're driving the show, drive it, baby.
So we're talking. Okay. Let's. If we're in therapy, the first thing we need to do is we need to acknowledge your feelings. I feel like we need to acknowledge your feelings. I feel like what you have to say, albeit depressing, it's not wrong. It's not wrong.
I think any Bills fan, if they're being honest with themselves, they understand that, right? And it's, listen, he's done incredible things. He has proved me wrong. Like I said, he has proved me wrong a multitude of times. And maybe he won't feel overwhelmed going into this year like he did in those other situations because he isn't really taking a step up. He's just taking on more responsibility. There isn't really a change, right? It's just that there's more eyes on him. So I'm not even sure that this will be one of those scenarios, but it's all on 17 now. Like you're looking at that dog saying, find a way to score me 24 points a football game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt comfortable saying that in the offseason, but
it's like here we are at the doorstep now.
Right.
Villain number one is going to open the door. What are we going to do? And I think that's a fair criticism of Brandon Beane. I do feel like it's one of those, like they were strapped in terms of what they could do this offseason. However, I do feel like there could have been a more concerted effort to bring in more talent. Like you could have drafted another wide receiver. You know what I mean?
And listen, I mean, offenses have gotten away with that for years. Hello, Tom Brady. Right? Hello, Peyton. Well, Peyton Manning had some decent wide receivers throughout it all. But, but you know what I mean? Like Aaron Rodgers never threw to a first-round wide receiver. You know what I mean? There is precedent for if you're one of those guys that you put money elsewhere and you say, we pay you $50 million a year to score points, go do it.
Right.
But here we are, man.
Yeah, here we are. It to me, and I look at it like this. Mahomes had his couple years where he had Kelsey, but he didn't have anything else outside of that. I feel like in roster construction, I feel like the Bills and the Chiefs are on a similar path in how they operate. And this is now Josh's time to learn how to play quarterback without top-tier weapons in a sense. I don't know.
Mahomes always had the top-tier weapon.
He always had Kelsey.
That is as top of a top-tier weapon as you can get.
So in so many ways, in so many words, I'm not gonna put this young fella on that pedestal. But
don't do it.
Hold on.
Don't do it.
Just hear me out. Hear me out. I think Brandon Beane thinks that Kincaid has that kind of potential, not Hall of Fame potential, but impact. That's what I think Brandon Beane thinks based off of his moves this offseason. That's what I think. Because I just don't understand how you could. I mean, let's talk about the depth chart. So Khalil Shakir, okay, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, and Keon Coleman's the number 4 wide receiver. Number 4.
Behind Mac Hollins.
Behind Mac Hollins. That to me, look, I get Mac Hollins like to walk around with no shoes on. And he probably has crusty feet. I don't know. Or maybe he oils those feet every night. But listen, everything, you know what they say in the draft community. First, second, third round picks, they need to be starters. Keon Coleman at number 4. That to me, dog, that's depressing.
And that's so like this is part of what's getting me down, right? Because I love Bean. You know I love Bean.
Yeah.
And if Bean likes Coleman, then I'm willing to ride with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it brings up the question of like, is there a disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff? Because we did not draft him in the second round with our first pick in the draft when we don't have any other wide receivers for him not to see the field.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And that's not saying that he won't see the field, but fourth on the depth chart, right? Like he better be getting time.
Is this one of those situations where, because McDermott's the ultimate puppet master, I feel like sometimes, and where it was like, well, he's got to earn it kind of thing. And hopefully Keon can come in and maybe supplant Holmes mid-season, or Mac Hollins mid-season.
No, not mid-season. And that's my point. Not mid-season, dog. Not mid-season.
If that's the case, then we failed at wide receiver.
It's something that
if their whole messaging this offseason was we need more explosive plays, how in the hell are you going to get that from Mac Hollins?
I think
Curtis Samuel.
I think there's an argument to be made there. I think there's an argument to be made for Curtis Samuel.
I'm just not that high on Curtis Samuel like some others. And that's not because he went to Ohio State. I just
you have to bring it up. You have to do it. Every time you have that path that you can walk down, you just run down it.
It's like this. Have you ever seen the YouTuber that he's a basketball guy, but he pulls out a red carpet and he rolls it down?
Yeah.
And people get that's what I feel like. Anytime there's college football or there's an Ohio State Buckeye, Michigan Wolverine, I got to say something about it. It's just, I have to. That's the only way I know how to live.
Man, the people in the UK don't even know what that means, though. Like
they do. They do. And if they don't, Michigan's the greatest college football institution in the world. Okay. All right. That's all. That's my plug. Okay. Back to Bills.
Listen, I think there's an argument to be made about Curtis Samuel providing some of that explosivity that you were looking for.
Okay, big words.
I don't think that's big words. I don't think that's a word. But there's an argument to be made that he is the guy to do that, right?
Right.
That being said, I know most of his snaps came from the outside. People have made that point 1,000 times. But I think he's most dangerous from the slot. And we have talked about how running an offense where your two most explosive weapons come from the middle of the field, not great. You need a threat on the outside.
Right.
And it might not even be your top two, because if you consider Curtis Samuel to be more deadly inside than out, then there's your top three. And who's your fourth most dangerous weapon? James Cook, probably.
This is
so
bad.
There's your top four most dangerous weapons, all coming out of the middle of the field. Now, listen, what you do create there is matchup problems, because no team has four linebackers and safeties that can all cover. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? Like if you can really, but that's you kind of innovating an offense. Like that is a whole different type of offense.
Right.
That you're trying to run that's really never been done before.
We've talked about this, where bunch formations, tighter alignments, those types of things.
But you know what you're talking about? Like, you're talking about an option offense. Now, of course, they're not actually running the option.
Right.
But when you're designing plays, when you're thinking about ways to get effective matchups, so on and so forth, if you're talking like this is going back to 1950s football. And if it works, I mean, it'll be super innovative.
We're not going that far.
But I understand. But I'm not saying that they're gonna 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Right.
What I am saying is when they're thinking about from a 2 tight end set, maybe even a 2 tight end, 2 back set, right? If they're thinking about trying to run an explosive offense from that, the type of pass plays that you're going to see are like what Air Force runs. You know what I mean? Like it, and that's not to say it can't be effective, but it's going to be interesting to see, because if they try to run it like a Dayball offense from 4 years ago where they're running 4 wide all the time,
which I would like to see,
but will it be effective?
Okay, so I guess that
you get Coleman on the field in that situation.
Well, first of all, I mean, we got to acknowledge Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir are your 2 best inside options. And they're asking Curtis Samuel to kind of do both. Matt Collins is simply, to me, he's the next receiver, right? And then we don't know what the hell to make of Keon Coleman at this stage based off of, the usage or lack thereof.
Everybody says X, though.
Right.
Which leaves you at just Curtis Samuel for the Z. Like, that's...
Bro, it's and that kind of goes back to the overall point is like, what's the plan? And I guess we won't see that plan until Sunday. But
there you go. There's the dread right there. Because I honestly have no idea what this plan is. I can talk just like I just did. I can talk myself all the way into it being a 2-back, a 21 personnel all the time, type offense where it's ground and pound and heavy run and play action. And I can talk myself, and I could talk myself all the way into it being a 4 wide set, which maybe even includes 2 tight ends in your 4 wide, right? Because I could see Knox and Kincaid both lined up outside and on the perimeter, right? So it's just, that's where the dread comes from, is just not knowing what this is going to look like. And without being real sure about any of your talent and without knowing exactly what it's going to look like, basically what you're saying is, I trust you, 17. And I do.
And that's not a bad place to be right there. That's not a bad place to be.
That's true.
I mean, we're talking Josh Allen being the second best quarterback in the league. And I don't think that's debatable. That's just my opinion. I think that's the opinion of a lot of people, but in NFL circles, I'm okay with that. Like, I think I know what Josh Allen's going to do this season. The things that I am worried about is the offensive coordinator and Joe Brady and the plan of this offense and the lack of, I mean, you look at, let's talk about it. You look at teams like the Houston Texans and I get they have a quarterback on a rookie deal. So that definitely changes the picture. But they got Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, just to start. That, to me, that's potent.
But that's what you can do with CJ Stroud on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, and these other teams with stacked wide receiving cores, you look at the Miami Dolphins, we know what they got. I mean, it's Joe Burrow, and I just, my thing is this: you have to take a step back and look at the overall big picture. You have to say, where do we, in the second round of the playoffs, we lose to the Chiefs? That's typically what happens. I say that's a 75% probability right now.
I hate when you talk like that, but go ahead.
But it's true. And I'm not wrong on this. So I look at that and I say, what have the Bills done to better position themselves to beat Kansas City when it matters in the playoffs. There's nothing that I can point to this year, and for me, that's the problem.
So, but to your own point, and this is how I sleep at night, there is a day of reckoning coming.
For who?
There is.
Mankind or the freaking Kansas City Chiefs? I'm trying to figure it out.
There's a day of reckoning coming because Travis Kelce cannot perform at the level he's performed at for 5 more years. I would put the cap at 5. Sometime in the next 5 years, he is going to fall off.
Travis Kelce's 35 years old. Ain't he? I'm gonna look
at it. Am I wrong? Sometime in the next 5 years, his production is going to drop off.
God, I can't stand him.
And he even made a statement. He even came out and said, like, "Oh, I wouldn't accept a decreased role if the Chiefs tried to talk to me about it."
He's 34. See, even that is depressing.
But that's what I'm saying. Like 5 years max, right? Like sometime in the next 5 years, his production will fall off.
I give him 3, 2.
He will lose to father time at some point. Okay. Chris Jones. Now, especially D linemen of his size, like Calais Campbell, like they just keep going. But Chris Jones in the next 5 years will fall off. Right?
30 years old. He's 30. He's got a good solid 5, bro.
I think he's got 5, but in the next 5 years, right?
Man, stop talking. This is depressing.
But
this is depressing.
Despite them finding enough answers on offense, they have not found a replacement for those blue chip talents. Rashid Rice is not a replacement for those blue chip talents, and that's if he stays out of jail. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll find out if Xavier Worthy is a replacement for those blue chip talents, but we don't know that yet. Right? So there is a day of reckoning coming. I don't think Pacheco is a blue chip talent. I think he's very good.
He's good.
I don't think he's a blue chip talent, though.
I put James Cook in that category. He's good-ish.
Very good. I don't even know if I go that far with James Cook. He's on my smelly list at the moment. But my point just being, like, at some point, there's going to be a turnover, right? And it's coming for the Bengals too, right? We're already seeing it. Jamar Chase holding in. Will they pay T. Higgins? They've let go of a couple of defensive players that were good. They let their tight end leave a couple of years ago who was good. You know what I mean? Like Tyler Boyd's not there anymore, I'm pretty sure. Didn't he leave?
Yeah. He's with Tennessee.
And is Tyler Boyd a game changer? No. But when you pay so much attention to the other 2 guys, it's nice to have a third guy that you can throw to that, can get it done, can make a difference. So we're already seeing it there. Dolphins just paid Tua. You're going to have to figure it out with Hill and Waddle and Tua and OBJ, who's not making much, I don't think, but you know what I mean? Devon Achane, like there will be a turnover here. So if you're Brandon Beane and you're the Buffalo Bills, here's what I'll say to you, the point that you made, Sterls. You're saying we're clearing the books, we're clearing the cap, and we are going to, over the next 3 years, win the race back to relevancy.
I'm going to tell you, if that's their freaking plan, that ain't going to cut it for me. I'll give them – no, I love everything you just said, but that plan sucks. I'll give them this year. I'll give them this year. This year, because you're going to have cap space next year. You got premium picks. You got first and 2 seconds. Come this time next year, we shouldn't have questions about this offense. I just won't stand for that. It cannot happen. Like why?
Because here's what you're going to find out. And I think I've said this to you before. The only thing that I know for sure is that we'll know.
Oh yeah.
And that's true about Dalton Kincaid. Is he a blue chip talent? Because we thought Dawson Knox might be. He's not. Right?
Not even close, to be honest.
We'll find out this year. Is Dalton Kincaid blue chip talent? Is Khalil Shakir blue chip talent?
No.
You're going to find out this year.
I can tell you right now, no. What blue chip talent is unproductive for 2 years? I mean, like limited production.
One who gets drafted late and doesn't really get a chance. I mean, you can look at Julian Edelman and Wes Welker and trying to think of other slot receivers.
Those guys I felt like those guys were force fed. You know what I mean? Like
Brandon Stokely
schemed. The scheme was phenomenal. Like they had some things working for them that not to downplay their ability. I just don't think that when it comes to developing wide receivers, I haven't seen the Bills really do it.
That's fine.
To that level.
That's fair, but that doesn't mean that talent won't overcome. Right?
Sure.
I mean,
it's just unlikely.
It's very unlikely.
Very unlikely.
It's just like drafting a quarterback in the 5th round versus drafting one in the 1st round. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
And I like Khalil Shakir.
Shakir is a 5th round wide receiver, and the fact that he's gotten to this point where we are putting so much weight on him, I think says a lot about how much talent he has. Because to even get to a place where the coaching staff and front office are comfortable with that much being on him is one thing. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you a question about Khalil Shakir, and be dead honest. Can he be better than Gabe Davis?
Yes. Different ways, but yes.
I think so too. I think I can sleep at night if I at least start there. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing though. It's going to be an unfair comparison. Can he be better than Gabe Davis if Stephon Diggs was on the field opposite him? Absolutely. Stephon Diggs is not on the field opposite him. Nobody is on the field opposite him, which means if you're making a plan to stop that passing game, you're either worried about Kincaid. That's it. So, it's all relative, I guess I would say. Does he have more talent than Davis? I think so. Can he be better than Davis? I think so. Can he be better than Davis in his current situation? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think those are fair questions to ask.
And to be honest with you, I know you're not a big fan, but talking about the way that you want to run this offense, don't underestimate a blocking wide receiver.
Dog.
And so Gabe Davis on this offense with a 2 tight end set and Gabe Davis in there, you've got 10 guys on the field. Well, you've got 9 guys on the field that can block. And I think that's part of the reason that you saw their run game be as successful as it was last year, is because it didn't matter if it was a pass or a run. They didn't have to change personnel. And I'm not saying Shakir won't stick his head in there, but you might have to take him off the field if you're going to run the ball. And if you do that, it's a tell for the defenses. You know what I mean?
Blocking. I feel like we're having the Allen Iverson conversation. We're talking about blocking. We're talking about blocking. Like, I don't want to hear about no. How
did they make their money at the end of the season,
bro? I don't give a rat's. If I could say those words on here, bro, you can. I don't want to hear about. You're right. I don't want to hear about blocking. I want to hear about catching the damn ball. I want to hear about catching the damn ball and getting to the end zone. Explosive plays. That's what I want to hear.
It's not about the actual blocking, though.
I know, but
it's about having to change your personnel, whether you're throwing or running.
Sure.
And with Gabe Davis on the field, you didn't have to do that.
No. And Matt Collins and Keon Coleman, I think, are supposed to fill those roles.
But then you're taking your biggest threat off the field, right? If Shakir is that guy, then you're taking your biggest threat off the field when you're running or passing.
Mental health guy is a good friend of ours.
I love him. Be careful.
The fact that he's saying you're optimistic and I'm pessimistic, that to me, that which is it should be reversed, because this is what you did. I came in here optimistic, and then you talk, you little sly, little snaky
and then I made good points.
You made a couple good points, and now I'm just like, you know what? F it all. But
love mental health guy.
No, he's a good one. He's a day one, man.
But I definitely brought the negativity to this one.
You did. You definitely did.
I'll take that.
You take that mantle and you wear it, buddy.
But it's just realism, man. It's just being
is
realistic. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Is that your boy?
hey, dog.
Hey, Travis Hunter looked real good.
Yo.
That solves two problems for you.
Man.
Travis Hunter looked real good.
Hey, we're going to talk about some prospects a little later in the show. Just FYI, make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe to Intentional Grounding. Okay. I just figured it out where Apple, for some reason, just released where I can start posting our show on Apple Podcasts. So you should start seeing our podcasts everywhere. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Intentional Grounding. These shows also live on YouTube and Twitch. All right. So the wide receiver core is a problem. I think we'll get into week 8 before the trade deadline, and we'll still be wondering what the hell are they going to do with wide receiver? Are they going to go get a wide receiver mid-season? Are they going to go knock on Cincinnati's door and says, hey, can we have T. Higgins for a second-round pick? Probably not going to happen.
I don't even know if I'd want that.
I'll take anything. Not anything. I'll take any good wide receiver at this point, because outside of Khalil Shakir, and I would say he's goodish, because he's a we just haven't seen enough yet. I'm not placing my expectations on Curtis Samuel. I'm just not. He's okay. And then that's it. If Keon Coleman's your fourth, that to me is the most damning part of this conversation, is Keon Coleman being fourth on your depth chart, week 1.
I mean, we've talked about the problems that presents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's a disconnect, where the disconnect is, but there's some kind of disconnect. If he's going to be the fourth wide receiver in to the game, I think there's some kind of disconnect. That being said, he can't be fourth in snaps. When Sal Capaccio tweets out the snap count on Monday morning, he cannot be fourth in offensive snaps for wide receivers.
Yeah, no, it's just not gonna. That's not gonna.
That's where I'll have a problem. That's where I'll have an issue.
And I think what you just said, I think that's probably what's going to happen. Right? I mean,
unless you're up by 30 and you're just running the ball, he better not.
Here's the better question: what the hell did they see in Matt Collins that they're like, you know what? He's wide receiver 1.
I mean, it had to be a practice thing, of course, because it's not like we saw anything in the games.
Okay, let's do this for me. Let's say the day after the Bills lost to the Chiefs. Okay, we were all depressed, you and me both, frustrated, mad, and we hear the press conference, and McDermott says, "Explosive plays, this, blah blah blah." If I told you going into 2024 NFL season, Matt Collins is your number 1 wide receiver, what would you have done?
He's not your number 1 wide receiver.
He is.
No, he's not.
He's the X, is he not? Typically, your X. No,
He's not your number 1 wide receiver.
Your X is your number 1. Is he not? Okay. What would you have said?
I would have said that your X isn't your number one wide receiver in this offense.
No, you play the game. Play the game. That's my dog right there, dog. That's my dog. But
Listen, I
go down the road with me.
I
What would you say? Come
I
on.
would have told if you would have told me that Mac Hollins was listed as a starting wide receiver for this team, I would have told you something went wrong in the offseason. That's what I would have told you.
Okay.
Right?
Are we there yet?
Forget number one wide receiver. Yeah, that's why this was
Yeah.
a concern when the depth chart came out.
Dog, this is bad, bro. This is bad.
If you would have told me he was listed as a starting wide receiver for this team, I would have told you something went wrong in the offseason.
Mm.
You drafted a guy in the first round and he tore up his knee. You took a big swing at a free agent wide receiver and missed. You traded for a guy and he tore up his knee. Whatever, right? Like I would have told you something went wrong. If Mac Hollins is listed as a starting wide receiver for the Bills, game 1, day 1, I would have told you something went wrong in the offseason.
Okay. And if I would have followed that up with, okay, Mac Hollins is your number 1, Khalil Shakir is your number 3, and your number 2 is Curtis Samuel, how would you feel? Better? Because
Yeah.
I would have to say no, because that means that you did not attack wide receiver aggressively enough in the offseason or in the draft.
But this goes back to our conversation last week of, last year it was you're one play away from Trent Sherfield, right? And this year it's you're one play away from Mac Hollins. You know what I mean? Like,
or MVS. Bruh.
and that is disconcerting to me. You know what I mean? But
Poor
the
Josh Allen.
conversation about all that, and you have done this all offseason, so I'll point your argument back out to you, because the conversation around all that is you are not having that conversation in a vacuum. You're having that conversation with the knowledge that your true number one option isn't any of those guys.
Right. We know who it is.
So I think it's at least important to mention that, because
Sure.
I don't disagree with your context that you're providing here, your theory that you're providing here. But I will say it's at least important to mention that we all know who the number one option is.
Kincaid,
you know
right? It's Kincaid. But
no doubt. So,
but I just think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of meat left on the bone. And again, they haven't played any significant downs yet. So I mean, but
and listen,
we've been here before.
Josh is the magic eraser, dog. Like that's how I started this thing out, right? Maybe Josh is the magic eraser, and he is that level of quarterback that, like, okay.
I mean,
right.
all right. So Epinesa, defensive end 2 over Von Miller. Thoughts there before I say my piece on that?
I hate it.
Why?
And I think I heard you say, like, oh, he's better. He's going to get specialty snaps. Like, it means one of two things to me, right? Either one, not only was he not ready to come back off injury last year, but he's still not ready to come back off injury this year.
If that, I can't. I won't tolerate it.
They say 2 years for a knee like that, dog.
Bro,
like,
we didn't even see this man in the preseason.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
we didn't even see him on a sideline.
So what? And normally you do that with a guy, and then you say, like, yeah, but we know he's our starter, and that's why we're putting him in bubble wrap. If Epinesa takes more snaps than Von Miller, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Well, you should start that disappointment train right now, because it's happening. I think Von has been relegated to specialty pass rusher role. He is Leonard Floyd. He is this year's Leonard Floyd. And I don't know if they're going to get 10.5 sacks out of him.
I also think that he can provide more than that if he's healthy. And I know Father Time is catching up with him. Don't you dare. I saw your eyes widen. Easy. I know Father Time is catching up with him. But he is an athletic freak. I mean, absolute freak. And if he is back to that form, he has more to offer than third down specialty pass rush.
Then we got a problem because AJ Epinesa is a
did not look great.
Defensive end 3 to 4 at best. In a normal depth chart, Epinesa's 3rd to 4th.
Good.
Defensive end.
Yes. So it should be Miller and Rousseau, and he should be switching in for third.
Dog. I don't even know if 8.5. I don't even know if he's gonna get 8.5. I mean, it'd be nice.
Every other game, I can't expect a sack from him every other game. I better get a sack from him every other game. 17 of those pitches now. Listen,
man. Is he healthy or is he not healthy? That is the question.
But that's what and that's why I said, like, this depth chart today, like, really, I was not in a good headspace to begin with. This depth chart today, a depth chart. Like, when does a depth chart do this to you? This depth chart today really ruined me. I mean, really, it put so many questions into my head. I can't even start.
Yeah. I mean, it effing sucks is what it does. I mean,
is Vaughn healthy?
Look,
and if not, why is he listed second on the depth chart?
We need to apologize to all the listeners real quick because they're gonna
they win 41-0 this week.
Nope, that's not happening. That's not happening. That's not happening.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, we apologize. I apologize.
In a week where the whole excitement, it's just not there. It's not there. When you look at, like, last year, I was excited. Like, oh yeah, this team. Oh yeah. This year, I'm like, I don't know, dog. People asked me at work today. Again, what do you think? How the Bills gonna do, man? I'm like, dude, I don't know, dog. Like, they're gonna make it the playoffs and then lose to the Chiefs in round 2. Like, I'm not excited about this season, and I'm not entered a Bills season.
Walking in 2020, none of us thought they were AFC Championship contenders. The beauty of the NFL is, from year to year, you don't know. You don't know. And I think there are more questions on this team than there has been in a long time. You're just leaning heavy on the constant. And we all know who the constant is. And let me tell you, if they make it to the playoffs and lose in the second round to the Chiefs, and he looks like he's looked the past 4 years, that boy's winning MVP this year. I told you that already.
Great. What's that going to get him?
I'm just saying, like, that is the kind of expectation change you've had from one year to the next.
Yeah,
right?
It's polar opposite.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the expectation has totally changed, and he could do the exact same thing he did the last 4 years and win MVP.
Yeah, I mean, MVP.
Listen. I don't think it's uber important, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. It's just, all right. So let's shift our focus to the second level of defense, the linebacking crew. Dorian Williams. Terrell Bernard, I don't have any reservations about. Like, I think he showed us who he is. We can expect that level of production week in and week out. It's what's next to him and Dorian Williams, who I'm a fan of. But in a starting role, that, to me, that's difficult. That's tough. Can he take the next step or not? I think that's a question to be asked. I don't know.
My trigger's really quick for giving somebody else snaps there. Let me put it to you that way. I am not. There's nothing that he showed me in the preseason to make me feel like he has cemented a spot there.
We've been here before, though. Terrell Bernard.
Last year with Terrell Bernard.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand the thought process, but I mean, good. Go
strike
prove me
lightning
wrong,
twice.
right? How long did it
Right.
take for us to buy into TB? What was that? The Washington game 3, that he was
Yeah,
incredible.
he was incredible weeks 1, 2, and I mean he was
But that's
putting
what.
in
But
work.
like,
Yeah,
when did we finally cement it?
week
When did we
3,
buy in? And I
week
think it was
3.
week 3, right?
Yep.
Week 3. It doesn't matter if you come out, you have a bad game. Like, they're your snaps, it's your position, so on and so forth, right?
Yep.
So yeah, if you come out of the gate gangbusters like TB did last year, great. I mean, I am a pig and shit in that point. Like, I am totally fine with it. I just don't think he has earned in any way, shape, or form consistent snaps. And I would be of the mindset of, if it looks bad in the first half, like, I'm starting to cycle through other guys and just see what they look like next to TB. Because the
But they
one thing
won't.
we didn't see is any of those guys next to Terrell Bernard. Right?
Right.
So that is an experiment that you are going to have ongoing over the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. And if it's Buffalo Joe, if it's Ulofoshio, if it's Moreau, whoever, I don't think you should be hesitating to give any of them snaps and see what they look like next to TB.
This is
and
bad.
Behind a really good defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, what we're saying works in theory, but that's not how McDermott is gonna. They're not gonna do it that way. They're going to ride him. They're going to keep him in there. He's going to have consistent blunders week in, week out before McDermott pulls the trigger. I mean, and I hope that's not the case. I hope he comes out firing. I hope he, can.
We all do.
I don't worry. We don't worry about him in run defense. It's teams are going to test him. They are going to point him out, game plan for him, and he's got to answer the bell. And that's going to happen. Trey McBride's coming to town. That's a matchup. That is a big time matchup. Trey McBride is a damn good tight end, young tight end. What's the answer?
The answer might be our next topic, to be honest with you. Because yes, Poe, we're going to talk about it.
Oh yeah, and I'm purposely not putting his comments up here because he's talking shit. Okay, like he knows exactly what he's doing.
I know, but he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. We know he's not wrong, and so but that might be your answer for Trey McBride, right? The question is, how much attention do you want to pay to Junior in his first game in the NFL? Do you want to give him that much respect? Which,
yeah, I'm going to.
I think McDermott probably is going to as well.
You listen. I've watched,
but that means you can't help Dorian. Then that means Dorian and TB need to handle Trey McBride.
Yep, they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to communicate. But see, this is what I think in game. Watch where they line Trey McBride up. They're going to line him up. Okay, they're going to line him up on the weak side, right where they expect Dorian to be. That's where most of his alignments are gonna. And I think they're going to use shifts and motions to isolate Dorian Williams. And if they don't do that, then they got a problem. Like you and I can sit here and game plan that. But you better isolate Dorian Williams and he's going to sink or swim. I think this is a huge test. You got a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray who plays off script. He's going to have to be extremely heady. He can't jump on play actions like he normally does. He can't be taking false steps. He's going to have to play his ass off this weekend.
He is. There's no doubt about it.
I don't know if he's up for it. I don't know.
And right. And then what do you do if he doesn't?
McDermott's going to ride with him.
You're not. And like Joe Andreessen was a fun story in the preseason. And I do think he offers something to this team,
sure,
special teams wise, whatever. But first of all, him and TB play the same position, right? Like you have to put one of them out of position to have them both on the field. And I think TB could probably slide to the weak side and be fine. But then you're making your middle linebacker Joe Andreessen, right? Like then your Mike is Joe Andreessen. And
man, no.
I don't know about that.
No.
I don't know about that. I haven't seen enough of Moreau to get like a real good feel for where he best fits in that scheme. So I don't know. Is he a weak side guy? I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know. And
I don't
so
think
you're in this weird spot where it's like
you're forgetting
you're
about
either
Balen Spector.
oh God. You're gonna have to get real mix or matchy, right? Like you're gonna have to get real nuanced in play calls and making sure you're not putting guys in bad situations and so on and so forth. Or you're gonna have to roll with Dorian Williams and just see. And I think that might end up what happens. You know what I mean?
All right. So the third level of the defense, the safety room.
Ooh.
This to me, this is where this is pretty. This one this will make me drink. Okay. Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, bruh.
So we all knew it was going to be Rapp. We all knew Rapp was going to be the starter.
And I don't know what they see in Taylor Rapp. That dude is reckless. Like he is so reckless.
And ended the game for you last year to win.
Oh yeah.
So listen, we all knew it was going to be Rapp, regardless of what you thought about him. That's not a surprise.
I'm not a fan.
The surprise is Hamlin next to him. And it's just a case of injury. I mean, right? Edwards or Bishop is in that spot. Probably
I'd rather
before
start
Hamlin.
Cole Bishop.
He has gotten no time in camp. He missed 3 weeks.
I don't care.
You can't.
You want DeMar Hamlin back there?
I'm telling you, I don't think they had another choice. And letting Poe go is tough.
Right.
But his conversation is the same one we had about Travis Kelce earlier. I love the guy, but he's fighting father time right now. And I think he's probably got a couple good years left in him, and he's going to make the Bills look silly 1 year for it or 2 years for it, and then he's going to lose the battle of father time. We all do at some point. It happens, right? Same thing with Micah. But it might be time to place the phone call.
Yeah, it's time. Like, it's been time.
They asked Brandon Beane in the press conference about Micah and has he closed the door? Have you closed the door? Like, I think they were trying to wait until later in the season, just health-wise for Micah, to let him get as much time off his feet as he can and expose him as little as they could before they got to the playoffs. But if you're listing DeMar Hamlin as your starting safety that means Edwards and Bishop are not healthy at all. And it might be time to send up the bat signal. You know what I mean? Like it might be time.
It's been time. And the fact that Mike Edwards hasn't done anything this whole offseason productive, like we've seen him, and
like how much do you trust him as a vet? Like,
right.
Yeah, he is a veteran safety, granted. But I mean, McDermott doesn't trust guys like that. Like he doesn't just play them when they've missed that much time and they're a brand new guy. McDermott doesn't do it.
No. I don't know what the infatuation is with Taylor Rapp. I just don't see it. I don't see it. If the Bills go out and get torched and we see a lot of misalignments from the back end and so forth, I think that's the position where they make that phone call ASAP. They say, Micah, bro, yeah, we can't do it without you, dog. Too late. You can't call Jordan back. I say let the rookie figure it out. I'd be more okay letting the rookie figure it out.
What you and I would do is irrelevant because we are so different from Sean McDermott. Now listen, he gets paid millions of dollars to make those decisions. So, who am I? Granted. 100% granted. But yeah, 100% I would if if I thought he was healthy and understood the scheme, because it is important that he understands the scheme. But if I thought he was healthy and understood the scheme, yeah, I'm definitely rolling with Bishop over Hamlin. And maybe Hamlin surprises us. Maybe. Somebody, I can't even remember who it was. I think maybe Hansel from Cover One.
Who?
But somebody put out the stats for Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin in their first couple of years and the stats for Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer before they got to the Bills. And they are eerily similar. So it's not to say that with time and experience and so on and so forth that a guy can't learn and evolve and grow. But that is a rare bird.
That's cute.
I mean, that's
cute.
Low percentage of players.
Exactly. I can give two F's about a effing graph and show me. That's where I'm saying right now. Show me.
Like that is a small percentage of players that evolve into Charizard like that. You know what I mean? Like it does not happen.
Oh,
and
man.
So
all right. Okay.
So I mean, and who knows? Maybe it's Micah. Maybe it's Micah that wants to wait. Maybe he wants to burn him a little bit for.
And maybe it's because Jordan's not there, and he's like, "Yeah, that's my dog, and I don't want to play with nobody else, so I'm good." You know, like guys.
Maybe he doesn't think he's healthy. Maybe he doesn't. He's concerned about his health.
So
I don't know. Who knows?
I do appreciate like for our show, man. Like these are. We're always going to have real, honest dialogue. And this show is not to have you feeling a certain type of way on game day, right? Leading up to it. Like, if it's good, I'm going to tell you it's good. And if it's not good enough, I'm going to let you know. And if it's terrible, you're going to hear about it. And that's where I guess for the Bills, I guess the whole foundation of tonight's conversation is there's just a lot of uncertainty. Things could be good. DeMar Hamlin could be great. Taylor Rapp could be great. Khalil Shakir can have an all-pro season. Mac Hollins don't wear shoes. Keon Coleman could be the guy we thought all the hype in the offseason and the interviews and all the things, and could be great. Could be great. But the thing is like, as Bills fans, we've been here so many times in terms of getting our expectations through the roof, only for those things to come crashing down in your face. And I guess so part of it, like if you're any good therapist, is like, okay, like I recognize it, I see the problem. There is reality and production versus expectation. I guess that's what we're looking at. And the expectation that we've had over the past 4 years, we've had high expectations. And I think this year, based off of what we see on paper, based off of the offseason moves, I think it's fair to be in this spot where we're just like, I don't know, dude. All this could go really well, and this all could go really bad. And it's not because of Josh Allen.
But like neither of those things are likely, right? Like the likeliest answer, and that's one of the things that drives me nuts about the discourse in this country for everything, much less football, is it ain't black and white.
Right.
Like it is not one end of the spectrum or the other. It's most likely going to be a shade of gray somewhere in there. And if you look at the success rate of draft picks and, players and all this kind of stuff, you're thinking probably 70% of these things that we're unsure of how they go aren't going to work. And maybe about 30% of them that we're unsure of are going to work.
Yeah.
And with as many questions as we just went over, if 70% of those things don't work, then the people who are putting out projections saying the Bills are going to miss the playoffs are right.
He's so stupid. He's so stupid. Yeah. Okay, so
listen, I'll tell you one thing, Poe. If they have the 17th overall draft pick in next year's draft and they aren't trading whatever they need to trade to get into the top 5 to take an elite talent, which you will have a shot at once every maybe never again in Josh Allen's tenure. You better be trading 1s and 2s and whatever else you need to trade to get up there and draft Travis Hunter in the top 5. I swear to God, if they sit at 17 and pick some middling pass rusher, I'm going to. So yes, if that is the case, they better be.
Oh man,
they better be in the top 5. But anyway,
Woosah. Okay, all right. So let's talk about Arizona Cardinals in this game this weekend.
Do we have to?
Well,
no, you're right.
Yeah, we got to. Yeah. We got to. The Bills face Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals in Buffalo. Let's get a couple things out the way. Kyler Murray's a good quarterback. Okay, he's not great. He's good. He's dangerous. He poses some threats. I think they're going to want to establish the run with James Conner. And he's finally got a weapon that he can rely on. And Marvin Harrison Jr. hasn't played a game yet. I know that. But I think it's fair to say that someone of his caliber, he is going to be relied on pretty heavily in this week's game. Okay. I think this is a game they'll win. Bills will win this game. They'll win it. Now, you ask me how or what that's going to look like? I don't know, because there's a lot of question marks with this Bills team right now. Things that we don't have answered. When we look at the Cardinals depth chart, okay, outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., I think Michael Wilson had a decent year last year, okay? Trey McBride, those are your weapons. They're weapons. So they're okay. I do think the Bills match up with them pretty well. Their offensive line is not very good. Okay. Jonah Williams is starting at right tackle. I think he can be exposed. Froholt, their center. I think Ed Oliver can have some advantages there. Evan Brown, so they got some weaknesses in that offensive line. We've seen the Bills in moments like these, like they got to come out and they got to establish the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football.
Yeah, listen, we talked about it in the offseason, and I think it's true for the Bills for the entire year. What was the one level of the defense? Well, I guess we did talk about it, but we talked about how we had too much talent there, not enough. Mm-hmm. Defensive line. Defensive line has to dominate, has to win. Yep. And you have to make sure that in the course of doing that you don't let Kyler Murray beat you.
Right.
Right. Like, don't let those legs be the reason that you lose the game. And that's easier said than done, granted, but with questions at safety and questions at linebacker, I just think it's really important that the defensive line has a dominant day. And then to your point about Marvin Harrison Jr., like, it's not the scheme that the Bills play, so it's less important. But the other thing that you've got to lean on with this defense, I think, is those corners.
Yeah.
And it's not elite corner play, but it's rock solid corner play. Taron Johnson, Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, and even Elam had a good camp. I think you have to rely on those guys to just be rock solid. And if you do, and trust them to handle a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., who it's his first game in the NFL, you can then scheme to help out the other two portions of your defense, your defensive backfield, that there at least are questions about.
Yeah, I think there has to be, and don't forget we have a new defensive play caller, right? I think they have to get aggressive. I think you come out aggressive against this team, defensively, right? You just come after them, set the tone early, make Kyler Murray beat you, make him beat you with.
I disagree with you.
Dude, I got to set the tone, bro. Look, I think you can go one-on-one with the wide receivers on the outside, right? I think if you put either Benford or Rasul Douglas, because they're physical, lengthy corners, I think you can handle them on the outside. I'm not worried about them. But man, I would really, some simulated pressures. Your defensive ends are going to have to be heady. They're not going to have to lose their contain. That's going to be important. But I think you come after them.
It's a new play caller, granted, but it is McDermott's defense. And what does McDermott do? When does his defense look best?
Against rookie quarterbacks?
How do they eat?
They're going to rush 4 and drop people back in coverage.
Rush 4.
And then
it's not just rushing 4, it's getting home with 4.
Yeah.
And that first half of the first season with Von Miller, when he was healthy and Ed Oliver was playing out of his mind, and we've seen what it looks like, and it looks damn good. It looks damn good when you can get home with 4. And that's how this defense thrives. That's how it's built, and it's how it thrives. And I just think, especially with Kyler Murray's strengths, which are eluding the rush, escaping, taking what the defense gives him, right? Like, he's used to getting blitzed. He's a vet quarterback by this point, right? I don't think you're going to scare him with a blitz. So I want to rush 4 and drop 7 every time. And I know that's not what you want, but that's where I disagree with.
Listen. If they drop 4, I mean they rush 4, whatever 4
they
that
drop
is.
4, we're
7,
really going after it.
Listen. And Kyler starts eating them up, eating that zone coverage up. I think, dog, because I think the reason why I have that philosophy right now is because they know what the Bills are going to do. I'm not saying it's just easy to beat it, but they know what the Bills are going to throw out there.
But everybody's known for the past 5 years. You know what I mean?
It's going to be interesting.
There are times that we can talk about if you want to change that. I don't disagree.
No, for sure.
These first 2 weeks, I ain't changing that. Against Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa, I want to take away their first read. I want to have eyes in the backfield against Kyler Murray playing his own, and I want to get home with 4. You know what I mean? Like, that is the recipe.
So basically, we're putting a lot of responsibility on that defensive line. Not saying that's the only 4, but it's going to start with them. If they're going to play that style of defense and it be successful, then that means Ed Oliver, Rousseau, Daquan, Epinesa. I mean, we got to depend on them to do their job.
Let's have a real honest conversation right now, Sterls. We can go back to the 10,000-foot view here. Where do you have your most assets invested?
They got in defensive line.
And it's not even close. You got to show up. You got a first-round pick, a second-round pick, $160 million contract, another first-round pick, and Daquan Jones was kind of lucky, but right, like where have your assets been invested? That defensive line. And it drove us crazy for a whole number of years. And what do you do now? Now you look at that defensive line and say, show me why I paid you so much goddamn money. Right? Like, that is where we're at. That's where we're at.
And can they? That's the question. And
we'll see.
We're gonna.
And then on the offensive side of the ball, I think the Cardinals have nothing to do with it. I think it's about, is this offense schemed properly and can they execute? Because with the rainmaker at quarterback like you have, it's just about if the offense is schemed properly and and if they can execute it. Because if those two things happened, it doesn't matter what the Cardinals do.
That defense they have, there's nothing special about their defense. I mean, they got Budda Baker, great safety. Their front seven's not that good.
They picked. Hold on, I got it right here. They picked 3rd overall. Okay, right. There's only so many changes you can make from year to year. That doesn't mean they won't be good this year. The NFL is all about parity, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be holes, right? And so if the offense is schemed properly and executed properly, you should have no problem against this defense.
Yeah, you better carve them up. That's all I'm saying, bro.
And maybe we feel a whole lot better coming back for a Thursday night game the week after. Maybe we do.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm picking the Bills to win. What say you?
You gonna give us a score?
34-16.
Wow. Okay, so a pretty good beat down there.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Hold on. 27-16. 27-16. I think that's fair.
You just wanted to pull the string on me just a little bit there, didn't you?
A little bit. 27-16.
I'm real torn right now because to me, either this game is dumb, like real dumb, and they win it like 17-15.
Bro, oh my God.
Right? Right? Like either this game is real dumb like that, or I think they go Washington Commanders last year, Houston Texans 2 years ago on it, and just roll out the barrel. You know what I mean? Like 41-0, just absolute beating, and everybody that was talking noise in the offseason, immediately their tune changes. Which I actually think will happen. God, I just feel like it's going to be either one of those two.
So it's not. There's no gray here. Is what you're saying. It's just black or white.
I don't think so. I don't think there's just like a nice, comfortable cruise to a win, unless it's just an absolute whitewash. Hold on, I'm looking for the spread real quick.
And I think it's like 6 points.
6.5.
Yeah.
Cardinals plus 6.5. I'd take the points. Let's put it that way.
Oh man.
I'm taking the points.
You're taking the points.
Listen, it's NFL week 1. You know what is a great example? Remember that Steelers game a couple years ago, week 1?
I was there.
Okay. I was like, there's no world in which the Steelers can beat the Bills. And a blocked punt and whatever else later, and all of a sudden we're 0-1. Like I mean, it really. That's what I'm saying. Stupid things happen week 1 in the NFL. Don't put too much weight into them, but
I knew I shouldn't have had this conversation with you because you were going to say something like that.
It's plus 6.5. You're getting almost a full touchdown.
Listen, the Bills are going to win by 9.
Okay.
9 points.
See, even Poe's saying he's taking the 6.5.
He hates the Bills right now, so I don't want to hear anything he has to say. Okay. Josh Allen stat line. He does hate the Bills. He hates the Bills. He does.
Listen, who gets the kids in the divorce is always tough. Like I said, weird things happen in NFL week 1, and you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, just like the Bills 4 years ago, there are teams that are good that you don't know, and there are teams that are bad and you don't know yet. So,
okay, all right. Real quick, for our friends across the pond around the league, There's really not a lot of notable news. We did see some contract extensions. Okay. Trent Williams got the bag, and they restructured Debo Samuel in doing so. They cleared up $16.4 million in cap space this year by converting Debo's salary to some sort of a signing bonus and proration kick down the line to where they can give Trent Williams his deal because he was holding out. Casey Hayward got the bag.
Do you play him week 1?
Who?
Trent Williams.
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
he's Trent freaking Williams. So
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been in camp. He hasn't like.
I don't care.
He's
He's an all-pro left tackle.
I'm not worried about him playing well. I'm worried about his health. That's all I'm worried about, right? Like, are you afraid that you're risking injury playing him week 1 with no camp, no practice, no nothing?
Nah, not with that contract he just signed. No, you going out there, dog. You are playing the game.
All right, fair enough.
You are playing the game. You want to hold him out? You gonna hold out Brandon Ayuk?
I definitely hold out Ayuk.
Hell no, brother. Yeah. You playing? Both of y'all playing?
It ain't. Listen, for that team, and we've had this conversation the last few years. Probably less true this year, but for that team, it ain't about September, dog. It is not. It is not about September.
The biggest thing for the Niners is, can they stay healthy this year? They got to stay healthy.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
this is about February and getting there as whole as you can. So why would you play a guy who wasn't in camp?
I'm still doing it though.
This is preseason game 4 for me right here. I don't care that it's Monday night. I don't care that it's the Jets.
Oh man. Yeah, they playing that, brother.
I mean, I feel better about playing Trent Williams than I do about playing Ayuk. Trent Williams is an athletic freak. I absolutely believe that he could get off the couch 10 years from now and play a decent left tackle. So I am less concerned about him. For a guy like Ayuk, I would definitely be concerned about it.
Thoughts on the Thursday game?
No, this is right. I know we put up a bunch of his comments, but this is right here, right? Like, oh, I clicked the wrong one. How did I click the wrong one? There it is. Trent Williams could sleep for 4 months and be a top 10 left tackle off the bed. Yeah, 100%.
That's facts. Thoughts on the Ravens Chiefs game? Who you? I got the Chiefs winning that game.
The Ravens go through these perpetual cycles of being incredibly dominant and then just real average. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that they are one of the most stable organizations in the league, which means that everybody comes for their money.
Mm-hmm.
And this year was in the form of Mike McDonald. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So I just expect a little bit of a drop off from the Ravens. I just think it's going to be hard for them to maintain that level they were playing at last year. And I am not a Lamar hater, but he is also not on Patrick Mahomes' level. So give me the better coach and the better quarterback.
The debut of Derrick Henry will be nice with the Ravens. It'd be nice. It'd be cool to see him in a different uniform.
Will it? Ravens +3. Who you got?
Chiefs.
-3 points. You're laying the field goal?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Packers Eagles too, by the way, before we get back on, which we do our Sunday little pregame show.
Plug
on
it.
Most of these same channels. So, come watch your NFL pregame show. But before we get back on air, Packers Eagles as well. Get a little Friday night action.
Where the Eagles are wearing black helmet and they're
black helmet, black pants, but white jersey. Like, if you're gonna do that, wait until you can pick the black jersey.
And I think they had to change it because like they were worried about gang activity in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah. Facts.
They changed their uniform because they're worried about gang activity.
The promotion of gang activity. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Packers plus 2.5.
In this game, man, I want to see if he's for real. Jordan Love. He got the big contract
too.
Huh?
He's got a lot to prove to me too.
He does. He does. And that's not a bad thing. He could do it. I just need to see if he's legit. You know, he had a really good run toward the end of the season. Okay, what does he look like now? Now that he's paid, I got to see him produce now. I got to see it. I got to see it the full picture now. You got what you wanted. What's next?
I think Josh Jacobs there is an underrated signing, by the way.
Yeah, I think I don't feel like they didn't get worse. I don't think they got better at running back. I feel like it's Aaron Jones. It's the same to me. I could be wrong,
but I think that's saying something because Aaron Jones is no slouch.
Right? I mean, like I don't. That's what I'm just saying. I just don't think his impact will be that great. Like based off of what they already had is what I'm trying to say.
And man, that Eagles roster is just stacked, though.
Yeah, they're good, man.
I mean,
that roster's good. It's really good.
The offensive weapons, I like their draft picks. Like, I think Howie Roseman is still somehow an underrated GM in this league. Somehow, yeah. I don't know. But it was funny because he got a lot of hate at the beginning of his tenure, and just every 3 years they are a championship contender again. Somehow they just cycle through.
Right.
Bad quarterback contract doesn't matter. We've got Jalen Hurts now. You know what I mean? Like it's incredible. It really is incredible how that team stays not only relevant but in the championship picture year in and year out.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good game. We'll get to see the Eagles' new shiny weapon that they got from the Washington Commanders.
He's like the third or fourth on them. But where's he on the wide receiver depth chart?
He's probably third.
At least.
Jahan Dotson's
at least. Yeah.
Probably. At least. I think it'll be a good game, man. Friday, it's a little weird. Like seeing that on Friday. A little weird to me.
I think this is what you're going to have in the future. Have I not told you?
Have I not told you
my future predictions for the NFL schedule?
Yeah, you told me.
18 games.
Talked about this.
18 games. I think they're actually going to start the week before Labor Day and do like what they call a showcase week, where most of the teams will play overseas. You'll have the Super Bowl winner Thursday night. You'll have a game Friday night. You'll have 3 international games Saturday, 3 international games Sunday, doubleheader Monday, doubleheader Tuesday. And then everybody gets the next weekend off. Everybody gets Labor Day weekend off. And then they kick off the season in earnest the week after that with like more of a regular schedule. 17 more games, 2 more buys after that. They use the first buy just kind of random floating the way they use buys now. And then the second buy, so it would be your third total, right? Because you had Labor Day weekend, your floating buy. And then that last buy is used so that they can play games on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's, whatever. If that game's on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, it don't matter because they got a buy. They got a third buy in there that they can give you to make it so you only play one game in 15 days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I totally bored you. I'm sorry. I lost you. It's okay.
No.
All right.
I mean,
I dig that schedule stuff.
I know you do.
18 games, 3 buys. Everybody. Most people play international.
If you're going to have 18 game schedule, man, you need at least two.
I think you got to go to 3, especially with as much as they're trying to make these teams play internationally.
Oh, yeah. And I
Brazil,
mean, they're talking about
Mexico.
Yeah, and they're talking about, oh yeah, we want these guys to start playing in Labor Day weekend.
I think they do it the week before college, week 0 for college football. And I think they leave Labor Day weekend to college football the way they have. So they would have started 2 weeks ago, and you would have had your games in Brazil and Mexico and London and Germany and whatever else. And then those guys get Labor Day weekend off. And then you come back, and week 2 is this week. That's what I think. But hey, they don't pay me to think. You know what I mean? So.
No, they don't. And they don't pay me to think either. Speaking of thinking, shall we segue into some draft talk real quick before we get off here tonight?
Sure.
I know you had some questions for me.
Well, because here's the thing, right? I think very rarely do we actually talk about what this team looks like 2 years out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how GMs think about it.
Yeah.
What contracts do I have on the books? What do I need to be preparing myself for, not only this year, but the year after? What positions am I weak? What am I? And because you don't want to always fill those spots with free agents. You want to fill them in the draft. And so with college football kicking off this weekend, I know you're a big draft guy. I want to know who I should be watching. You know what I mean? And in terms of the Bills, but also just in general, I wanted your take on who I should really be paying attention to, because of course you get the Heisman hopefuls and that kind of stuff. But who should I be paying attention to in the world of college football as it relates to the NFL?
I'm gonna say, I mean, I think we know who our top guys are, right? Like Travis Hunter, cornerback, wide receiver. I think he probably will project better at cornerback than wide receiver at the next level, just because I think there's a lot of nuance that he would have to learn to play wide receiver. He is a much more seasoned, more instinctual cornerback than he is wide receiver. Now, I think one of the things that we've seen from him recently is, the wide receiver play is sticking out, but I'm telling you, like, he's going to be a better cornerback than he will wide receiver. Luther Burden the third, if we're talking about wide receivers, this guy is he's amazing. Missouri wide receiver, 5'11", but he's a burner. He's shifty. Look, when you talk about route running, he's got it, bro. So I think he's a guy that you should look forward to. There's a lot of I'm gonna tell you who I'm not that high on, James Pierce. I just think, as a pass rusher, if you talk about, guys who are high on the board, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about James Pierce out of Tennessee. I think he's a toolsy edge rusher, but I just don't get the top 5 hype that a lot of people are placing on him right now. So from a Bills lens, I'll tell you this, from a Bills lens, you're talking about edge rushers, because I do think we know who McDermott and Bean are. And I do think that, like, I don't know if we talked about earlier in the show that Epinesa is much better as a defensive end 3 or 4. Okay. So Vaughn, we don't know what his status is going to look like next year. We don't know what he's going to do this year. But if you ask me, guys that I think the Bills should be in target for, guys that I think that they would have a shot at.
If you say edge rusher, I'm coming through the screen.
I'm gonna give you a couple edge rushers that you should pay attention to this weekend. And I know that's not what people want to hear.
No, it's not.
Because everything in me says go get as many wide receivers as you can, but I just don't think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think the Bills are going to be more focused on edge rusher. I just do. And so if you're looking at edge rushers, I think your first guy you got to look at, you saw him on Sunday night, was Harold Perkins Jr. He's a slender frame. He's like 220 pounds, but 6'1". Man, you talk about he's an elite playmaker. Okay.
USC or Notre Dame?
He is LSU.
LSU. I'm sorry.
LSU. Harold Perkins Jr. He's going to look like an outside linebacker, defensive end. I think he can put on more weight to his frame at the next level. But you talk about fast, bursty. The guy that can, can bend around the edge. And I think his hand placement is really good. He had good tape last year. I would even go as far as to say Abdul Carter, Penn State. Okay. I think he's going to measure in like 6'3", 255 pounds. But the thing about him, we talk about how good of an athlete Von Miller is. Abdul Carter for Penn State is he is legit 4.4 speed, legit 4.4 speed for a defensive end. And I think when you have Rousseau on the outside, pairing him up with a guy like Abdul Carter, it's nice. It's what they envisioned Von Miller and Rousseau to be together. I think they can get that guy in Abdul Carter. So I think that one of the strengths of this draft will be defensive end. There's a lot of, in my opinion, so far, there's a lot of good defensive ends.
Because a lot of those guys stayed in school this year, right? I mean, you didn't have a strong defensive draft this year in terms of the top end, at least.
Yeah. You can look at Ole Miss, Princely, Yuma, Maryland is he's big guy, 6'5", right? Very strong. He's got some bend, some explosiveness. And then I hate to say this, but JT Tuamalau from Ohio State, and I'll leave it there. That's
not even going to provide any breakdown.
I mean,
all right, well then I'll put you on the spot because there's a couple big games this weekend. And if you want to talk about anybody from any of these teams, feel free. Tennessee and NC State is a big matchup going on.
Okay.
Let's see. South Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
Okay,
State.
so Kentucky, they have a really good defensive tackle, Deion Walker. This dude is a behemoth of a man. He's like 6'6", 350 pounds. He's a guy you should watch. He's gonna be he's a unit. He's solid, bro.
Unit.
He's solid.
Arkansas, Oklahoma State is the early game on ABC.
I mean, if you want to talk running backs, Oklahoma State has a really good running back, that
Ollie
Gordon III. You talk about his vision. He's like he reminds me of Breece Hall. He's a Breece Hall clone with breakaway speed, really good vision, and he has some power to his game too. So yeah, he's a good prospect to watch.
And I say all that, and this is the one I was actually going to put you on the spot for, to talk about the actual game of the day. Number 3 Texas headed to the Big House to play number 10 Michigan. If you're listening on the podcast, you can't see the smile that just overcame that man's face right there. But he's ready to talk about his Big Blue. It's absolutely and unquestionably the game of the weekend. Texas at Michigan. Yeah, man. Tell us who we need to be looking for, and don't just give me Michigan.
No, I'm going to start with Texas. Kelvin Banks Jr., left tackle. He's 6'5", 6'4", really good left tackle, man. I think he's going to be a day one starter, first round pick probably. I think he does offer you some flexibility, versatility on offensive line where you can put him at right tackle as well. I think if in the first round, I think he probably, depending on what they do with Spencer Brown, I think he's a guy that you could look at as a Spencer Brown replacement, depending on what they think of Tylen Grable. Quinn Ewers, I mean, if you like quarterback play, if you want to be a nerd, look at Quinn Ewers and his mechanics. Sometimes they can be a little inconsistent. Quinn Ewers decided to come back to Texas. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think what scouts are wanting to see, they want to see that maturation of consistency with his mechanics, right? Is he on time? Can he throw off platform? We've seen him do those things, but it's not consistent. So I think
he hasn't been projected towards the very top of the draft too either. I mean, you hear a lot of Carson Beck, you hear a lot of Shador Sanders. You don't hear a lot of Quinn Ewers up there.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of Quinn Ewers, and I think it's fair that he should be a guy that we talk about. I just I don't know, man. I think this week will be a big week for him. Just he's playing against an NFL type of defense. Not, like there's going to be dogs. There's going to be dogs on that Michigan defense. And let's talk about Michigan. Now, I do think Texas will win the game. But on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, these are guys that Michigan, I mean, that the Bills, I don't think will have a shot at. I think these guys, these first two guys I mentioned are going to be top 10 picks. But Will Johnson, I think he's the best corner in football, better than Travis Hunter, if you ask me. 6'2", 4.4 speed. He's more of a zone corner, so he would fit well in McDermott's defense. He's good in man, but I think he makes his bread in zone. I don't know if you saw him last week, but he had Fresno State. They thought, they took some chances, went after him, but he made him pay late with a 85-yard pick six. Just instinctual, man. He read like a screen and just took it and just went the distance. So he's a really good, like very instinctual, smart corner. He does everything the right way, in my opinion. And then the hog, big Mason Graham, 6'3", 320 pounds, game wrecker. I mean, this is a guy that had, there's like these cliche terms in the scouting world. They say, oh yeah, the hot motor, which I hate that word, that phrase. I hate hot motor, but he plays like he has his hair on fire. A guy that can push the pocket. He's as effective as a pass rusher, just as he is in his run protection. Like he is just dog. He is Mason Graham is a top five defensive tackle. And then you look at tight end Colson Loveland. This dude is 6'6", man, and can run. And he got Charmin soft hands, bro. He is good. Colson Loveland is the best tight end in football. He is the best tight end at the college level right now. And that's just not me saying that.
How good Michigan tight ends are since Jake Butt. How'd all that
Jake Butt was great. Jake Butt was great. But he was injured. The injuries. Had he not torn his ACL, he would have been really good for the Broncos. But Colson Loveland, he's verified. He's that guy. So on Saturday, you're gonna see Michigan try to funnel a lot of offense because they really don't have much outside of that. I would tell you to look at Donovan Edwards, but man, I got a review on him. He didn't show me much this past weekend. He's impatient. He didn't, I don't think the offensive line played their best, but I figured that he'd have a much better showing, and he didn't.
I think some of last year's went to the NFL last year.
They had like 6-7 guys from the offensive line go to the league last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can look like a pretty good running back when you're playing behind 6 NFL offensive linemen. So
yeah, I mean, listen, he's good, but I don't think before the season, I would tell you, like, he's probably a second, third round back. I don't know, man. Like, he's got to show up this week. He didn't have, but Khalil Mullings had a really good game. So, and he's a one cut down here runner. So we'll see what that looks like. But if you ask me who's going to win that game, I'm gonna say Texas wins that game. Michigan on offense is just not there yet. But if Michigan wins, I mean, I'd be surprised just as you would. But so, yeah, I think, as we continue on the show.
This is where betting is way more fun before you move on. This is where betting is way more fun because the spread is 7.5. Is that enough for you to take Michigan?
No.
I give you a whole touchdown?
Nah. They could lose by 2 touchdowns in this game. 2 scores at least. Yeah, they just didn't show me enough on offense for me to be like confident in them.
Well, but that's not just a commentary on Michigan. That's a commentary on Texas too, because
they're good.
I mean, that's saying a lot about Texas, and in their first year in the SEC, that's quite a statement they would be making going into the Big House and getting a win.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, yeah. So go ahead and say what you wanted to say about this little 5 minutes we'll take at the end of the show each week.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be, I'll be dropping, talking prospects all season long. So this is a spot in our show that, if you like college football and you like the NFL draft, I feel like that's where I do my best work right there. So
unquestionably. And I'm gonna make you tell me who to look out for in those games each week too. I mean, we're all going to have the games on anyway. So it's nice
Yeah.
to hear about the guys that you should be keeping an eye on.
And we'll get into some more in-depth guys. You know, I wanted to kind of give you some of the hogs and the dogs, but I think there's going to be some depth in this year's draft. We'll see who declares and comes out, but I think it'll be a good draft. I think this year's draft will be better than last year's, that's for sure.
Well, and it was also, I mean, not only was it not the same at the top, but it was not very deep either. So you're going to start running out of COVID years and people staying for NIL money, all that stuff. That's all going to come to roost here in the next couple of years because they're going to run out of eligibility. And so I think you're going to see a couple loaded drafts here over the next 2 or 3 where you really want to be paying attention top to bottom. So excited for that prospect talk, dog.
Yep. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Listen to it. It's good stuff. All right. So with that being said, this is Intentional Grounding right here on the Sports Social Podcast Network. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and find us wherever you listen to your podcast. This show is also on YouTube. If you look on the screen here at Furrow Sterling, on YouTube at Rob T Radio on YouTube, you can come find us. We are here all week long. If you have questions or things that you would like for us to talk about on the show, feel free to leave us a DM. We are not hard to find, as Coach Prime says, right? We are not hard to find. We will be here all season long, giving you the goods. So with that being said, man, go Bills. We're going to get a dub this weekend. And rest assured, just be easy. Let's not overthink. Let's not overreact. We'll wait to do that on Sunday.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.